Dan and Corey here, welcoming you into Libservative.
The great fundamental issue now before our people. We, the people, cannot turn back.
Yeah, welcome in to another rousing rendition of Libservative. Intellectual idiots fostering political and cultural literacy. For Bell, the Bodysnatcher, on the ones and twos. He, as always, is Corey Walsh.
He's Dan Griffin.
And I don't know why I labeled this episode like making fun of old people, probably because our government is full of old people, and I didn't really have anything better to say. So
it was a good rhyme.
Mugshots and liver spots. Here we go.
An American Tale.
It is. Oh God, the worst of all American tales. We're actually gonna surprise some folks here within the first couple minutes of the show.
I got a surprise for you, Dan.
Hold on. Let me set it up, and then you can tell all the people where they can find us. Okay. I know where you were going.
No, that actually wasn't it.
Oh God, you ruined it. We're gonna say good things about Joe Biden today.
I was gonna share a lizard with a tail. Did you see this one? I'm throwing this one at you.
Senator, you're up for election in 3 short years.
Mitch McConnell.
Yeah. He's in election for 3 short years.
I had a hard time hearing you. That's okay. What are your thoughts on running for re-election in 2026?
What are my thoughts about what?
Running for re-election in 2026.
That's
I don't mean to laugh.
Freezes.
Running for re-election.
Dude. That's twice now.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute.
Okay, so like it's not an anomaly anymore. It wasn't just Mitch having a bad day.
Nope.
He looks bad.
okay.
Somebody else have a question? Please speak up.
What efforts is Daniel Cameron going to have to make on the campaign trail when Kentucky's over in November?
Senator Daniel Cameron, do you have a comment on Daniel Cameron?
Well, I think the government race is going to be very close.
Oh man.
Oh my God.
Nominated.
Yeah. I thought
Okay, all right, we get the point.
So
here's the thing.
I thought it was gonna be a little
want
bit funnier when I shared it.
It's
But the
not. It's
second
so
time,
fucking
it's
sad.
just so bad.
I want to feel bad for people like that and for people like, you know, Dianne Feinstein, but then I go, no, this is where I get so pissed off when boomers want to sit there and say that we're entitled as millennials, or, you know, Gen Z is entitled, when they want to sit here and just clasp onto power like they're a fucking, you know, opera singer's pearls.
Yeah.
Well, we're entitled. They can't let go and let other people and let younger generations take us into the next place after they, you know, fucked us over and turned us into consumers and nothing but consumers that don't care about anything of substance.
And this cognitive decline is brought to you by Libservative Podcast, and it is found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. We can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, Instagram and Twitter at Libservative Pod. Our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today.
I don't even want to do this show anymore.
I saw that and I was like, holy fuck. Again?
Where did you just find that like recently? Because I cannot believe I didn't see that.
Yeah, I found it earlier today. And reading our title of our episode today, Mugshots and Liver Spots, I thought it was very fitting. What were you going to say, Dan?
I don't even remember now because you've completely taken the wind out of my sails as a human being by showing me Mitch McConnell not knowing where he is again. And it's
Well, I mean, you did the same thing last week with Biden's Hawaii speech.
but at least Biden, okay, I can't even believe I'm about to do this. This is like defending the smaller piece of shit, right? So at least Biden can speak. Like noises keep coming out of his mouth.
The guttural sounds.
He at least answers questions. He might answer a question that wasn't asked, but he will at least you'll get a response when you speak to Joe Biden. This is twice now where Mitch McConnell's just sat there frozen.
It's painstaking.
yeah.
Well, yeah, when I shared it again, like for the show, I was like, oh my God, yeah, this is pretty bad.
Oh my God.
I thought we were gonna get a laugh out of it. And then I was like, oh wait, no, that's a real human being.
This is yeah. Well, that's not really a human being, but you know,
close. Oh, that's why I shared that, because you talked about tails, an American tail, and I said, speaking of lizards with tails.
Lizards without tails. Yeah, he's more like a frog. Well, he's a turtle.
Right.
Mitch
Is that what
McConnell's
turtles
a turtle.
do?
Well, he just looks like a turtle. I don't know. Corey, before we get into matters of substance, do you think that we're actually going to be going back to mask mandates again? Like, so this is
the tinfoil hat thing that
no, I don't know how tinfoil hat is it really, right? Because the first person to talk about this, I'll set it up. The first person to talk about this that we noticed was Alex Jones.
No, it was
because
TSA friend told me
allegedly, and we talked. We had a cup of coffee together and jerked each other off in the bathroom.
He was wearing a mask the whole time.
Alex Jones. I always get concerned when Alex Jones makes these sweeping predictions because he does get stuff right. The thing is, he throws 100 things at the wall and like 10 of them stick. So he's at like a 10% clip most of the time. But this is one
pretty,
where I'm like,
pretty gratuitous.
You think that's generous? You think he only gets 10% right?
He gets way less than a shitty tip at the bar.
Whatever. He gets things right occasionally before anybody else does. He's got a better track record than CNN. That's for sure. So, I mean, we have Alex Jones
allegedly talking to a TSA friend. My friend, I mean, really, really good friend.
And he is saying that by December, we're all going to be masking on planes again.
Yeah.
And I think,
and then I've seen people run with it, and now people are saying that there's going to be lockdowns again.
Yeah. So here's my theory, and then I'll let you give yours. This is like one of the few times where I'm not going to be a complete fucking nihilist here. I actually have faith in the American people to realize that they're gonna have a say in it this time, where you're not going to have to put up with lockdowns and being forced to wear masks. Like if a business wants to force you to wear a mask, I mean, whatever, fine. You don't have to patronize that patron that business. But for the government to be pressing mask mandates again and to be pressing lockdowns again, I have a little bit more faith in the American people to recognize how unbelievably tyrannical that was the first time and not let it happen again.
I hope so.
Good talk.
No, I think after all the dust has settled from that, a lot of people, even if they don't want to admit it, they look back and go, whoa, that was a fucking wild time, huh?
Yeah, well, that can't be the only reaction. It has to be I won't fly, dude. I won't fly even if it's just the airlines. I won't fly. Fuck it. I'll take a shorter vacation somewhere else, somewhere I can drive to. Like I don't need to get on an airplane.
But then you got a honeymoon coming up.
Yeah, and we had already planned to use the wheels.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So
nice. Where are you guys going?
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, if you want to follow into your good buddy, old pal Corey's footsteps, you just take your car and go up and cross over the Mackinac Bridge and camp a bunch and do hotels all through the west coast of the state. Go over the bridge, tour all the UP, come down the Wisconsin side and take the old SS Beaver.
We actually thought about renting a camper van
It's done.
so we can take
Oh,
the dog.
nice.
SS Beaver's done for the year.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
That's a lie.
It's
That's
going
a
under
goddamn
maintenance.
lie.
It's going under maintenance right now.
Then, well, there's another ship they have. There's two of them.
It's
There's
in a
the
different city.
nope.
This is not the show. Not the show. Not the place, guys. Not the time.
Because I took that ship across the river. It's at the end of September.
It's a lake.
Lake, river, whatever.
So according to you, Corey,
Take the ferry across Lake Michigan.
Biden do good? Why is there no question mark at the end of that?
Oh, because I don't know if it is a question. I think it's a declarative statement, Dan.
Biden do good?
Yeah, he did good. Well, his administration did. But we got two things on the docket right now that I have to give Biden some praise for.
Let's start with labor. So last Friday, the National Labor Relations Board released its most important ruling in many decades in a party line decision in the, is it CEMEX? Is that how you, Chemex? Construction Materials Specific LLC. The board ruled that when a majority of a company's employees file union affiliation, the board, file union affiliation cards, the employer can either voluntarily recognize their union or, if not, ask the board to run a union recognition election. If in the run-up to or during that election, the employer commits an unfair labor practice, such as illegally firing pro-union workers, which has become routine in nearly every such election over the past 40 years.
Amazon.
As the penalties have been negligible.
Starbucks.
The board will order the employer to recognize the union and enter forthwith into bargaining. The CEMEX decision, I think it's called, I don't know how to pronounce it. The CEMEX decision was preceded by another one day earlier in which the board also, along party lines, set out rules for representation elections, which required them to be held promptly after the board had been asked to conduct them, curtailing employers' ability to delay them, often indefinitely, is how these elections are delayed. I guess my question is, like, what's the penalty, right? Like, what's the penalty now if an employer goes and fires somebody?
So the premise of this is like, so, there's a whole process. Like, if you want to start a union in your place, you kind of walk around secretly asking everyone, like, hey, do you want to be in a union? And everyone's like, yeah. And so then they get a union rep. And then they pass out union cards that people sign. And if a majority of the people want to be in a union and they want to be recognized based on how many people sign their cards, then they go through the whole voting process. They go through the whole contract wage conversation to where they figure out what exactly the contract is going to be and stuff. But that litigation takes months, if not years. So places like Starbucks and these small company and these small little franchises who have high turnover rates, or even Amazon and places like that, when after everyone signed their union cards and like, all right, we're going to get a union going, and they try to start working on union contracts and voting and everyone doing their official vote to be a part of a union, these companies would typically come in and start firing people who were trying to get, like, the biggest mouthpieces who are trying to get things going, trying to fire people who might be the organizers and things like that. So now what this is doing is, if that happens in a place and then there's proof that the company is actively trying to dismantle it, break it up, and do anything like that, then instead of them having to fight through that and vote, if the company is, the penalty is that the company actively tries to stop it, then the cards count as the vote. So then there's no official voting process. It's just, you guys, everyone signed these cards saying they want to be in a union. You guys are a union now.
So it's good from the sense that it's a lot harder for corporations, not even necessarily corporations, but any company at all, to quickly just kind of swiftly go through and get rid of any employees that there are musings or buzzings of them possibly starting a union. The problem that we still have, so that's good. So right, so like, you can't get fired essentially for unionizing.
Yeah, this just protects workers,
which was already illegal. But as we know, the corporations would just take whatever the penalties were because they were nominal, and they would just go ahead and fire,
This
or
makes
find a way
the
to fire.
penalty away from a monetary value to where companies would bite the bullet in the short term.
Mhm.
It makes it to where it's way more like effective to where like if they try to actively do it. No, I mean companies can like talk to their employees and go, hey guys, wait, hold on. But if they're like doing stuff that looks like they're proactively trying to break up this whole union process, the National Labor and Relations Board, what's it called? The National Relations for
I
Labor
was gonna
Board.
say,
actually
like,
got
you
that
nailed
right.
it.
I usually get that shit wrong, Dan. And so I mean, this is a huge win for the working class people.
You are not an acronym guy, are you?
No, I'm not
Uh,
a word guy. I don't know why I do podcasts.
the thing that's missing, RFK Jr. can't speak, but he's the
He's running for
podcast
president.
candidate.
It's the American dream, Dan.
The only thing that's missing still is the fact that the corporations or companies therein are not still forced to collectively bargain when there is a union organized, right? Because like that's the issue that you're still having with Starbucks and Amazon, at least from what I understand. Somebody who knows more about this can correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially what these corporations are doing is they're just delaying any sort of collective bargaining contract between the union and the company itself. So like, yeah, they're unionized, but there's no incentive for these companies to come to the table to negotiate things like wages and time off and things like that. Basically, all these unions are doing, and this is no small thing, don't get me wrong, but all these unions are essentially doing is allowing these people to keep their jobs after
No, and
unionizing.
you're right. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of work to still be done. This is just a step in the right direction. This is the first time that you've seen Biden, who claims to be the most pro-union president, actually do something proactively to show that he's pro-union. We saw what happened with the rail unions and how he fucked that one. You saw how he promised in his campaign that he would not allow the government to do any contracts with a company who is anti-union, yet they are still working with Amazon, who's proactively trying to break up unions. You've seen him skirt all of his responsibilities that he claimed he was going to take on, and you've seen him really fuck unions over. And like even when he walked back his statement when he said Amazon, we're coming for you, when Christian Smalls was doing his union there, and then later he walked it back and goes, well, that's not really what I meant. Well, I mean, his stooges did. His administration walked it back. And to me, this is a very, very positive thing for workers. This is really like, especially in a state like ours, we've seen this huge like shift of being a right to work state to being able to be a collective bargaining state, and then things like this happen.
The state of Michigan.
Yeah.
For any
in the
new
state
listeners.
of Michigan.
Can I give you my my cynical take for just a second here?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So Biden do good, right? At least his administration threw workers a bone, I guess I would say here. In probably the biggest bone that his administration has offered to workers thus far. It's a big thing for workers and their ability to unionize. It's a really small thing when you talk about Joe Biden being the most quote unquote pro-union president.
Yeah, but I'm not going to let.
No, but here's what I was going to say. He's not doing this in good faith. Joe Biden and his administration realize that the UAW is about to go on strike right here locally in Detroit, representing all of the big three motor companies. He realizes that he doesn't have any union support, or at least his administration does. His handlers do. I don't know that Joe Biden even knows where the closest bathroom is in the White House, but I just don't see this as or his pants. I just don't see this as a good. I just don't see this as a good faith move. This is a give me votes move. Look, and that doesn't make Joe Biden any different from any other president that we've ever seen. They do things to get votes, and that's one of the biggest problems with our system. But still, I just see this and I go, you threw them the smallest bone you could. You threw workers the smallest bone you could throw them, while with it still being kind of a big deal.
Yeah. First thing I'm going to say is Biden was walking around the White House and he's like, what? The sign said bathroom closed, use floor below. And I did. And now everyone's pissed off.
My 67 Corvette.
No. And it's like, I don't like Biden. Okay. He's a part of the same establishment, like fucking conglomerate that fucked our country and put us in the situation we're in. Absolutely. But I'm not going to let my jaded views of Biden kind of diminish the idea that like this is honestly like a really big deal. Like this is a really, really, really big deal, because a lot of times when people are afraid to even take that step and get the cards and everything going is the retaliation from the worker. And this kneecaps that. Like this is a huge win for the working class. Biden can shit his pants all he wants.
I guess it's like, so yeah, it makes it easier for people to unionize and makes it a lot harder for companies to fire people for unionizing. But the problem is the new unions, I mean, it's a step. I'm not trying to diminish that. It's a step in the right direction, but
and I get it. What you're saying
it doesn't give any new unions any more power than they've ever had before. So it's
not
like,
if they're already unionized. No, you're right.
Exactly. So what's the incentive? There's still just such little incentive to unionize if you're not already unionized, other than being able to say, "Oh my God, I'm in a union now."
You know what the incentive to be unionized is right now? Is the Teamsters fucking making a great ass contract for their workers, showing that when the union tells the government just to stay out of the way, they can do great. But once they're a big union and there's a huge, massive collective bargaining going on, that's a whole different scenario than people even trying to get their foot in the door to get to that point of what the Teamsters can do. The Teamsters could do what they did because they were already established. But now this opens the door for other people to get like a foothold in the whole union sphere to get to that point where the Teamsters are. Now there's a huge gap right there that still needs to be filled and taken care of being able to protect unions and the collective bargaining when they get there. And that's where Biden falls short ridiculously. Sure, 100%. I will give you that. You saw how he fucked over Norfolk, like the rail workers union. But this here it's probably one of the best things I've seen this administration do when it comes to taking care of the middle class. Now, we're going to get into in a minute for the Medicare issues with the negotiating of prices and stuff like that. And again, that's something that helps people that are already dependent on the government. But this is something that helps people who aren't dependent on the government, the working class, the people that I attribute, and relate with the most. And so I think this is a really, really big win. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I saw this and I was like, fuck yeah. It's probably the first time in a year that I've said, good on you, Biden. That's a good one.
Somebody in the Biden administration sat down and went, "Oh my God, Oliver Anthony's going on Joe Rogan. We
got to make Corey happy."
Oh man.
Yeah, no, this is a good one, man. I don't see very many negative things coming from this. Like there's still like you mentioned, like the step after and all the shortcomings in that. And absolutely, I agree with you 100%. But I think that this win right here is a huge, huge win for the working class.
Okay.
That's all I got to say about that. Did I convince you?
67 Corvette.
I didn't.
Why does his voice sound slower and more slurred every single time you play that for me?
I don't think you really needed to convince me. I think it's good. I think it's a
Biden do good.
It's yeah, I guess. It's protectionist for the workers.
I'm just as surprised as you are, Dan. And it's so hard to actually give the guy credit after we've been shitting on him for the last year.
Well, I mean, and then that all depends on how you feel about unionization in the first place. It's not very libertarian of you, Corey.
I think that the more power unions get, the less government you need. So
yeah, that's just there's Basically, that's just because when the unions get big enough, they just become the bureaucracy themselves.
Well, they can get to a point where they're shitty as well. I mean, like, for example, I could think of 2 unions that are absolute trash right off the top of my head, and that's the teachers union and the police unions. Those are absolutely garbage. They just protect shitty teachers and
Well,
shitty
you
police
know why
officers.
that is, don't you, Corey?
Because they're government workers.
Well, that's actually sort of what I was going to say, but just in a less elegant way. What I was going to say is that one of those unions has a monopoly on violence, and the other one has a monopoly on propagandizing your kids. So there you go.
Get your kid in a Montessori school. It was funny because, my teacher or my wife, she's a Montessori school teacher, and me and her were going over a New Yorker article recently, and it was talking about like the pitfalls of Montessori school, but it wasn't shitting on like the Montessori teachings itself. It was shitting on the fact that like we took this great way of teaching and we took this shitty assembly line teaching. I think the guy's name was Ellison. And when our government was trying to create like a program for our Department of Education, it was kind of being a competition between the two of them.
They went with the Prussian school.
Yeah, it was like Ellison, and but the Montessori teaching is just more like focused on the individual, not like the collective kind of thing. And the teaching, like Montessori schooling, even though it's like great and wonderful for so many people because it's not a cookie cutter thing, it unfortunately has become
a cult.
No, it's not a cult. It's become a white affluent schooling.
It's a cult.
It's become unaffordable for like a lot of people. Like Jeff Bezos went there. Like a lot of like when you look at the schools themselves, like because it's a private school, it costs a little bit more money and stuff like that. So like the poorest kids and stuff like that can't afford it unless there's scholarships and stuff. And it's unfortunate actually because like the alternative with Montessori schooling versus public schooling, it's like night and day, and like it's like the ratios are way better. Like classrooms are like 12 with like 2 teachers and all of that kind of stuff, which is great, but it's a lot more expensive. And it sucks that it's a lot more expensive.
And it's a cult.
Montessori? You think Montessori is a cult? This isn't oh fuck, what's that school? There's 2 other schools. The art one. What's the art one? You don't know. You don't know anything about this stuff.
Yeah, except for that it's a cult.
You think Montessori school is a cult?
It just seems like it. The way people talk about it.
Because it's fucking phenomenal.
Well, that's what cults say.
Yeah, they do say that. You're right. But the proof is in the pudding. Most of our people who are very successful in our country are Montessori students.
Did you just give Jeff Bezos a credit for going to Montessori school after you just shit on Amazon 25 seconds ago?
The guy is a billionaire and he went to Montessori school. Correlation isn't causation.
Talking out of both sides of your ass, Corey Walsh.
Look at me go. Goddamn dirty centrist.
Each cheek's got something to say. Well, how else Biden do good, Corey?
So the other thing that Biden did good is one of the pieces that came off of the Inflation Reduction Act, which was signed into law by President Biden. And so what this does is it authorizes Medicare to negotiate the prices of some high-cost prescription drugs with pharmaceutical companies. This is a major priority for the Biden administration, which aims to lower healthcare costs and improve access to innovative therapies. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, has announced the first 10 drugs covered under Medicare Part D selected for negotiation. The negotiations with participating drug companies will occur in 2023 and 2024, and any negotiated prices will become effective beginning in 2026. The selected drugs accounted for $50 billion in total Part D gross covered by prescription drug costs, or about 20% of total Part D gross covered prescription drugs cost between June 1st, 2022 and May 31st, 2023, which is the time period used to determine which drugs are eligible for negotiation. So basically, Medicare is $750
Big-Pharma.
Yeah, Medicare costs us $750 billion a year, which is about 12% of the total annual budget. And they are working to save mostly old people and people on disabilities a lot of money by negotiating these prices, which is great.
Biden do good.
Biden do good. Biden did a good job. I know it pains me to say it, Dan.
He did a good job. Well, I'll say about this one, about the prescription drug thing. He did a good job considering the broken ass system that we have is with regards to healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like a good job. I'm sorry, like I have to play devil's advocate for why I don't care about Biden do good. We know that Big-Pharma price gouges regardless of what the prescription is, whether it's a Medicare, Medicaid prescription or not. And there are various governmental overreach reasons for why that's the case. So I gotta say, although this is Biden do good, making prescription drugs a little bit cheaper for the old and the sick, it is a small Band-Aid on a far bigger problem, which I'm sure you would agree with.
Oh, absolutely. I think what you could do on top of this is stop all of these bullshit protectionist laws that the government imposes that make it to where you can't just buy prescription drugs from overseas, because that's also one of the biggest problems, because we have a monopoly in our country on the drug pharmaceutical companies who all just are in bed together. They all get together now that's kind of hyperbolic when I say they all get together like in a back smoky room, but right now, like in other countries, the same drugs that are sold here are like marked up at like 100%, 200%, 300%, where in other countries they're like a fraction of the cost. And we have bullshit protectionist laws in our country for the same thing that goes for like baby formula or the example that I just used, pharmaceuticals, and you can't buy them from overseas, so you can only buy them in-house. And what they do is they jack the prices up.
It's also to even compound on that, it's also FDA regulatory bullshit, right? Because you can't just like you and I tomorrow can't just go out and start a drug company. Like we can't just go out and start and like find some smart, because we don't know what we're doing, but like let's say we were rich enough to find some scientists that could make a new drug that would cure leukemia. We can't just take that drug and put it on the market. Even if we go through all of the studies and we can show doctors openly and honestly, hey, look, you take this pill, you're going to cure your leukemia inside of 6 months. And a doctor should be able to see that and go, wow, this data looks really good. Let's give it a shot. Even if we did our own version of randomized controlled trials on that drug, we can't do it without going through the FDA first. So
True.
So yeah, you have prescription drug companies that are few and far between, and they lobby to keep it that way. So it's internal and external. You're looking at me like you don't know what the fuck I just said.
No, I was looking at the list of the 10 drugs, but a lot of them, God damn you, New York Times, and my lack of finances.
You get paywalled?
Yeah, I got paywalled.
Why the hell would you ever pay for that anyway?
I wouldn't.
I didn't pay, but I have it up.
You son of a bitch.
You didn't pay.
What did you do? Bell the Bodysnatcher is now a hacker of the New York Times as well.
Mr. Hacker Man.
I can show you guys how.
If
you subscribe. No, I'm just kidding. Do you want me to read them?
Yeah, go ahead and read them.
Okay, the first one is called Eliquis for strokes and blood clot. Jardiance for diabetes and heart failure. Xarelto, which my dad actually takes, for preventing strokes and blood clots. Januvia for diabetes. Farxiga for diabetes, heart failure, and chronic kidney disease. Entresto for heart failure. Enbrel for arthritis and other autoimmune conditions. Imbruvica for blood cancers. Stelara for Crohn's disease. And Fiasp and Novolog insulin products for diabetes. This is just a start. They said that there's additional medications selected for price negotiations pretty soon.
Yeah, I think their total list of the ones they all want to negotiate are like there's like 60 of them, but the first 10 they're doing are tackling these ones. So it sounds like they're focusing on like diabetes and like strokes and Crohn's.
They selected these through a process. The prioritized ones that
Are the
account
most
for
expensive
highest-
ones, right?
Yeah, highest Medicare spending, and they don't have any competition.
This is gonna save a lot of American people a lot of money.
So here's what I heard in that list of drugs that Bell just listed off. It's a lot of drugs that are taken for ailments which are seemingly preventable with good preventative care.
Depends on which one, type 1 or type 2.
Sure, of course, yes. But you know what I'm saying. Like it's just heart failure, diabetes. These are all things that, of course, like some people, perfectly healthy people, get these things, right? But for the most part, these are. This has always been my issue. What I'm saying is like this has always been my issue with the American medical system is that we're really fucking good at like finding the drug to treat the ailment, or doctors are really good at diagnosing and fixing a problem. But everybody fucking sucks at preventing these problems for needing these drugs in the first place. And you can't tell me that these drug companies don't want us sick for that reason right there alone. I don't even think that's a tinfoil hat thing either.
I don't, you're probably right, but it's it is still based in capitalism, and these people are seeing things that they want to need or a want, and they're filling that void. Like when it comes to things that a lot of people don't want to change their lifestyle or anything like that if they know that there's a drug that they can just take to prolong their lifestyle without having to have any adverse effects. So they take a drug instead of eating healthier foods, if that makes sense. Like someone who's out there eating packs of fun rounds and they have diabetes, they don't want to give them up, so they just take a drug to fix the problem instead of stopping and eating them. And a free market capitalist society affords that to them, but they're gonna have to pay an arm and a leg.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes to the point where they're being exploited, though, because of the monopoly and the pharmaceutical industry. Because like you said, you and I can't just open our own pharmacy, call it Deals on Wheels or something, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But so these drugs are made for those types of people who don't want to give up what they want. They just want to eat their cheeseburgers and drink their beer and not have to worry about any adverse effects, so they take these drugs.
Well, that's one thing. It's one thing if you make the decision, but it's the informed consent argument, right? Like doctors and nutritionists should just be better at letting people know.
Yeah, we're just shitty at that. Like, look at the Atkins
really
diet.
Bad. We're
like
so
everything
bad at preventative care.
Because our preventative care that we offer people is the same thing as we were talking about the educational industry. It's a cookie cutter thing to where it's just this blanket thing where they're like, nope, just get less carbs and exercise more. And that's not going to necessarily work for everybody. You know what I mean? They go eat less red meat. Some people can only eat red meat, and like it's different things like that. And it's the healthcare industry has become a production facility where they bring you in, they check your stats, and then they kick you out. And the whole healthcare industry of preventative health is definitely like fucked in this country. It's so fucked. But yeah, that's just basically where I was at with that. Like, yeah, like these medicines are given to people because, and especially with a lot of this like Medicare and stuff, it's going to be older people. So they're too far gone to the past the point where
they're
now
not going to change their ways.
And now it's they're at that age where it's like, well, if you just eat an apple a day, it's like, doc, I only got about 8 or 9 more years. 70 years of me eating greasy cheeseburgers.
Where's my insulin?
But yeah, no, this is gonna, because what this will do, this is gonna save a lot of people a lot of money. And it's gonna even like trickle down and help us and stuff like that. Like, God forbid, like I'm probably right there at the point where I'm gonna have diabetes one day anyways. So he bless you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like it for that reason. Like if for no other reason than price, then it reduces price gouging. But right, the libertarian argument would be, price
Just
gouging.
get rid of the protectionist laws.
Get rid of the regulatory red tape, and but you wouldn't have a need to enforce the reduction in price gouging.
Yeah.
So
you wouldn't
Biden
need
in both of these situations did, or I'm not even going to say him because I don't think he knows where he is, but his administration did a good job in the context of the system as it is today.
That's fair. And as you're saying that, it's like you wouldn't need to create more regulation to negotiate drug prices in the first place if the same government wasn't there at the beginning, at the inception of the problem, telling people they can't buy the drugs somewhere else. Right?
Yeah. And you have to wonder, like, if we did it, if
they outsmarted themselves on this one, Dan.
And if we did a better job with preventative care over the course of essentially since factory farming came along, if we did a better job with preventative care for all of that time, how many of these drugs wouldn't even need to exist in the first place because too few people would need them?
Yeah.
Well, the pharmaceutical industry doesn't want to hear that, Corey.
They sure don't.
Shall we recap the debate polling?
Yeah, so the debates were 1 week ago. We talked about it on the show. I think we all became unanimous deciding that Vivek Ramaswamy was the one that won the debate hands down, we thought. But the polls haven't really moved that much.
I think it has. I think it just goes to show how little that fucking debate actually mattered. Like when Vivek was up there going, what did he say? He goes, oh, we're all just here to have a good time. And Catherine Menke Ward of Reason made a good point on the Reason Roundtable this week going, well, no, some of us are here to like see who's the best option for the leader of the free world. We're not just here to have a good time. But it's like you could see that like Vivek is up on that. Vivek is up on that stage. And I think he really might just be there to have a good time because at the end of the day, he doesn't. I think he thinks he would be the best presidential option up on that stage, plus Donald Trump. But I think there's got to be a part of him that realizes he doesn't really have a chance. I think
he's jockeying for a VP.
Dude, I know I've heard that a lot, but I've also heard people within his circles saying that no, he really thinks he could actually be a good president.
Every VP thinks the same thing. That's why they're jockeying for the job.
But go ahead.
I was gonna say, I really think he might be jockeying for that VP slot because of the fact that, when you remember on that stage, he attacked pretty unabashedly everyone except for DeSantis
and Donald Trump.
The only two beating him in the poll. And I really think that him and DeSantis are both really hoping that Donald Trump gets arrested.
Well, there might be a reason for that. As far I understand why he's not attacking Donald Trump because he's basically running on the Donald Trump platform. Even if you don't think that he's jockeying for the vice presidential bid, but if you really go back and remember what happened during that debate, DeSantis was basically the only one on that stage who did not attack Vivek Ramaswamy. Because you got to remember, if you go back and rewatch that debate, they all came after him first.
They came after him hard. They saw him as
GPT and yeah.
Yep. The skinny guy with the weird name.
Come give me a hug.
But yeah, it's just looking back, it's just interesting. I think that's what he's trying to do. He doesn't want to attack the two front runners because one of those two is going to get knocked out. And if you think about it, if Trump does join the debates, DeSantis and Trump, it's going to get nasty. Vivek is kind of just going to sit on the side and let the two squabble and let them a winner. And then he's going to be like, oh, remember me?
Donald Trump will absolutely wipe the floor with Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
He is, you saw during that debate, he has absolutely no ability to say anything that would even remotely concern Donald Trump on a debate stage.
Yeah. Now, Vivek, on the other hand.
But it's interesting because, like, if Vivek Ramaswamy overtakes DeSantis in the polling, and right now I'm looking on Real Clear Politics, pretty much every poll since the debates has Vivek behind DeSantis by
like 2 to 6 points.
at least. Yeah, 3 is the closest I see, and the 10 YouGov has it at 10. DeSantis at 16, Ramaswamy at 6.
And there are a couple polls. I think there's a Trafalgar poll that actually has Ramaswamy above DeSantis when Trump is taken out of the equation. There's a couple polls. There's a couple polls when Trump is removed. It's like Vivek beats DeSantis by a little bit, and then when it's reversed and DeSantis wins in a couple of those polls when Trump is removed, it's like 32-26, 32-28. And what those two are honestly trying to do, because they're not going to get the Trump votes. That's why those ones are attacking the smaller ones, because they're just trying to shore up the rest of the votes.
But I guess at the end of the day, we all wasted our time watching this debate. When you take a look at polling ever since
they had
the debate, like Trump's lost like 6 points, but when you're ahead by 40, like what difference does that actually make? And Nikki Haley's up a couple points since the debate because she did a decent job with the
those are the three
with the abortion issue, but she also was like, you realize that she's still Nikki Haley because like she spent half the debate talking about how war is good. So like she lost me at that point as always. And then
those are the three though. You watch Burgum, Ada, Christie, they're all going to drop off soon. Pence too, probably.
I think Christie will drop off last because he's just so dead set on shitting on Trump. I think he'll stick around. I think he'll stick around for a while. It's not going to work.
I don't think he wants to be president as much as he wants to just shit on Trump.
He needs to just have a cheeseburger and sit down.
He's probably so happy about those diabetes drugs being lowered.
I don't think he's on Medicare though, dude.
You're probably right.
He made a lot of money off of that bridge scandal.
Yeah, he did make money off that, didn't he?
I think he did. I don't know. I don't really.
Didn't he like just raise bridges or something? Like something happened. I forget what the exact story is.
Blocked off a bridge. They blocked off a bridge, and the whole scandal was that like emergency vehicles couldn't get across. That's what kind of gave it away. I don't know if there's any money made off of that, but it doesn't matter. He's a piece of shit. Just like all the rest of them. They're all pieces of shit.
Yeah, you remember he was on the stage bragging about how he cut like pensions and stuff like that. Like, good job. Good job, bud.
I don't know what's worse, that or Nikki Haley talking about how good war is for half the fucking debate. I can't tell, man. As far as Vivek goes, I can't tell. Like, he says the right things and he's kind of fun, but I can't tell if he's just like a Soros-backed grifter at this point, because he very well could be.
He might be.
I mean, yeah, he definitely could be. Sorry,
I hate the whole Soros shit. Like, I know that the guy spends all this money and meddling in all these things and propping up AGs and doing all this shit in this weird, like,
the scholarship wasn't even from him.
Ideation that he has of how America should be. And it pisses me off that one person has that much power that they can manipulate our government to that point where even his name is mentioned with it being attached to that. But there's just so many negative connotations attached to the idea of even attacking him. It's where it's just like, ugh. Just die already.
Somebody will take his place. You know who likes to talk about Soros?
Chris Webby.
Alex Jones.
Oh.
Soros-backed.
I can't remember. What the hell did he say? Soros-backed. What was the word he used? Soros-backed lizard people. Soros-backed lizard monsters.
These lizard people. They're evil. They smell like sulfur.
Interdimensional child molesters.
They're demons.
We laugh until we find out he's right.
Jesus Christ.
They have sex with your wives. Turn them gay.
I don't know. Mitch McConnell looks like his batteries died now twice. He didn't use Energizer batteries, that's for sure.
George Soros forgot to replace his batteries.
Forgot to turn them off and then turn them on again.
You guys want to talk about somehow liberty equaling racism in public schools these days? What do now?
Yeah. You got the video?
I do here somewhere. Hang on. I got to remember where. There it is. There's where the fuck I put it. All right. Let's share this.
Go ahead and share it.
It's shared.
Do they know what the Gadsden flag is? That it's a historical flag?
So they're, the reason that they do not want the.
Guess I should have set this up. So a kid got in trouble in school for wearing a Gadsden flag patch on his backpack. And for those who don't know what the Gadsden flag is, it's the yellow flag with the snake that says "Don't tread on me." You've probably seen him.
No steppy on snake.
You've probably seen him on the back of like rednecks pickup trucks.
Next to a Blue Lives Matter flag.
Or in my room.
Which is a completely different thing. But this is a flag that basically was used during the Revolutionary War. That was a, get the fuck away from me, you dirty Brits.
Yeah, sign of solidarity. Like, hey, don't try to. Yeah, don't fuck with me.
It is literally a symbol of liberty. Like that is what this flag is a symbol of, is liberty. So this kid gets in trouble in school because, according to whoever this woman is, and I actually kind of feel bad for her because it actually seems like she's just there basically doing the dirty work of the school district. And when you have all of these people that come out and talk about how bad the public school system is and how they're indoctrinating your kids, I understand that this is just an anecdote. This is just one thing in one place that happened one time, but it's like, this means that it's not zero. So I'll go ahead and play the video.
Thank you. Do they know what the Gadsden flag is? That it's a historical flag?
Kid's all well dressed. He's got his shirt tucked in.
The reason that they do not
It's probably a private school.
flag, the reason we do not want the flag displayed is due to its origins with slavery and slave trade.
Slavery and slave
That
trade.
is what was, that's the reasoning behind them not displayed.
The Gadsden flag,
The "Don't tread on me."
which is the
What?
And I
I
can
don't
have
want
you
a
speak
lawsuit, I really
to,
don't.
I can have you speak to Jeff Yoakum
Okay.
again. And then he can refer you to our person at the district.
Okay.
Because like I said, we're following district policy is what we're doing. So the last thing I want is him out of class.
Yeah, I
Like,
know
that's all
he
like,
he
the last
takes
thing I
his
want.
classes seriously.
Yes.
He studies. He wants to get straight A's. He did that. He made honor roll when he was here before. He intends to do that again right now, but it's hard because he keeps missing class for this. So
I understand that.
yeah, and I mean, we teach him to always stick up for your beliefs. And I mean, you're going over the revolution for 7th grade. I mean, the founding fathers stood up for what they believed in against unjust laws. This is unjust.
Okay. Like I said, we are upholding a policy that was provided to us, which we have to uphold.
Okay, can you show me where the policy?
And then mom asks for the policy, which I'm assuming this woman probably can't provide, but maybe she did. I actually feel bad for the lady that's like talking about this because you could tell she's like, this is fucking stupid. I just want this kid to go back to class.
Right.
So it's like,
So
whose dirty
even
work is she doing?
Wikipedia claims the Gadsden flag is a historical American flag with a yellow field depicting a timber rattlesnake coiled and ready to strike. Beneath the rattlesnake are the words "Don't tread on me." Some modern versions include the flag with an apostrophe. The flag is named for Christopher Gadsden, a South Carolina delegate to the Continental Congress and Brigadier General of the Continental Army, who designed the flag in 1775 during the American Revolution. He gave the flag to Commodore Essex Hopkins, and it was unfurled on the main mast of the Hobson's flagship USS Alfred on December 20th, 1775. 2 days later, Congress made Hopkins commander-in-chief of the Continental Navy. He adopted the Gadsden banner as his personal flag, flying it from the main mast of the flagship while he was aboard. The Continental Marines also flew the flag during the early part of the war. It was basically, or the rattlesnake was a symbol of unity in the 13 colonies at the start of the Revolutionary War, and it had a long history as a political symbol in America. Benjamin Franklin used it for his join or die woodcut in 1754. The Gadsden intended his flag as a warning to Britain not to violate the liberties of its American subjects. The flag has been described as the most popular symbol of the American Revolution. Its design proclaims an assertive warning of vigilance and willingness to act in defense against coercion. This has led to be associated with the ideas of individualism and liberty.
So,
for distress or defiance against authorities and government.
So this is it just speaks to this silliness that like anything that is
pre-Civil Rights Act,
basically pre-Civil Rights, or certainly pre-Civil War, is so everything that America represents pre-Civil War is just all based on slavery. It's the 1619 Project type nonsense, right?
Yeah,
where literally everything is based on slavery.
Well, Dan,
the
to be
Gadsden
fair,
flag.
Someone who flew that flag back in the 1700s might have owned a slave.
Might have, yeah, it's true.
So
it does have ties to the slave trade.
And they drank hydrogen monoxide, that dirty chemical.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just an anecdotal situation. I'm really hoping this isn't a massive problem.
This got turned, didn't it?
But then again, how many sixth graders are going to school with a Gadsden flag patch on their backpack? I mean, it could be more than I think, but I gotta imagine it's not that many. I'm assuming they have like fucking Pokemon patches or whatever the fuck most of them on the back of their backpacks, stuff like that.
Liberty Twitcher said, "Don't forget the kid who was sent home because his T-shirt said there are only two genders."
Yeah. Well, that's
and he goes, "Is it just anecdotal? We should take attacks on free speech seriously always."
Yes. This situation that we just talked about is anecdotal. It's one example.
Right, but he said we should take attacks on free speech seriously always, and I agree. And you know what? And that does, honestly, it goes both ways. I'm here right now defending a kid who has a Gadsden flag on the back of his backpack. And I'm defending it, and he should absolutely have that. And just like a kid should be able to wear a shirt that says there are only two genders, that should also be protected just as vehemently as someone wearing a rainbow flag T-shirt.
I was just going to say,
free speech is free speech is free speech.
I was just going to say, if like that kid went to school with a pride flag on his backpack, do you think that would have been accepted?
Yeah.
Or say the same kid walks into, I don't know, a school in rural Alabama that's in a super Christian district, still public school, but a super Christian district, and they try to send him home for having a pride flag on his backpack. I would defend that just as vehemently as I would defend a kid like this
individual expressing his First Amendment. It's the reason why it's the fucking First Amendment. Should be vehemently defended, even if you disagree with them. I hate using this
like the ACLU defending Nazis, Corey.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no matter what, free speech is free speech.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope this isn't that big of an issue. I really do, because like this is like the first one that I've actually.
Well, this
seen,
one got turned. This one got flipped, didn't it?
Yes, it did. Yeah, he's Bell. Do you have that? Because
I think you mentioned that this got flipped.
There was an update earlier today.
The Gadsden flag thing.
I believe the district caved.
I think Dan said that.
Maybe I did. Wow, I can't even remember what the hell I said. But yeah, I believe the district flipped on this because it got so much attention. So yeah, no, absolutely. In that case, Liberty Twitcher is right. You should take an inventory of this stuff because of the fact that this got such play, the district caved on it.
Yeah, and now see, this is he's sharing a bunch of different scenarios where this happened in California and stuff like that, like talking about people reading news accounts that trans men and women's sports were biologically different and things like that, and that's in that aspect. So that's another example.
Yeah,
Liberty Twitcher.
No, I've seen a ton of like the like the school boards, where people will go in and they're like reading the supposed, and like, look, I haven't been in a fucking school library since I was in school, but like they were supposedly like reading the graphic stuff from the books that are inside the libraries. Have you seen these? There's been a handful of them that have been out there.
And people are being told to stop.
Yeah, like you have to stop, and they're basically like, well, you know, if you're not comfortable with me reading it amongst adults in a school board meeting, why the hell is it in my goddamn kid's library? I've seen that stuff. I definitely have seen that stuff.
Yeah. And what's the alternative to that? Burning books?
Well, yeah, of course.
Like I don't
you gotta
know.
go to the
Maybe,
others.
maybe you know, like maybe like I don't know if I'm necessarily for removing books from a library, but I guess there's like I don't know.
I'm
It's
all right.
weird.
I'm all right removing books from school libraries that are deemed inappropriate. Should they be taken out of the public library? Of course not. But a school library, like I do think parents should have say in that. Like what books?
So what you just said was important. The parents,
Yeah,
not a bureaucratic school board.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, the school board's going to make the decision, but they should make the decision based on the opinions of the parents. It's democracy, right? Majority
Their
rule.
governor came out and defended the kid. The Gadsden flag is a proud symbol of the American Revolution and an iconic warning to Britain or any government not to violate the liberties of Americans. Polis, a Democrat, continued, it appears on popular American medallions and challenge coins through today, and Ben Franklin also adopted it to symbolize the union of the 13 colonies. It's a great teaching moment for a history lesson.
Yeah,
But
well, go ahead, Bell.
I'll say, but that's not the only patch they were questioning in the school. According to Mike Claudio, assistant superintendent, he said that there was in his statement, the student returned to class without incident after removing patches of semi-automatic weapons from his backpack that were also with the Gadsden flag. That's probably why you didn't see the whole video.
Well, here's the thing.
Oh,
right?
because there was also patches of guns.
Here's the thing. So here's the thing. Here's what I'm gonna tell
Yeah,
you.
Ethan Crumbly fucked that one for him.
Well, here's what I'm gonna tell you that's different. If the school has a policy where not depicting violence or guns or whatever, like that's not a new thing, dude. Like that was something that was in place when you and I were in high school, right? You couldn't depict like alcohol or drugs or violence or whatever on your clothes. Like that's not a new thing. So like I have a little bit more sympathy for that. But not to mention the fact that in the video, the woman says that the reason he can't have the Gadsden flag patch on his backpack
because it was
because
to do with
depicts
slavery.
Yes.
That's the scary part. The
Right.
fact that a woman that works in a public school does not even know like basic Revolutionary War history, or if she does and she's really upset that she has to do this in the first place, which it kind of seemed like she did, enough people at the district don't understand basic American history to know what that flag.
Yeah, I'm tired of revisionist history. I'm tired of people like I understand that history is always written by the victors, and sure. And it's hard to go through and sift through the rubble to find the history of like the losers of the town who was raised and stuff like that. But to just rewrite stuff based on hunches and feelings isn't right.
And it's like, did anybody come to the school district and go, I'm really offended by the flag on that guy's backpack? Maybe somebody did. I don't know. I would imagine it was probably an adult and not a fellow student.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many sixth graders? Okay, think back to when you were a sixth grader. Did you have any fucking clue what the Gadsden flag was?
Yeah, because it was in our history books talking about the Revolutionary War.
Right. But did you know it beyond like reading that part of the history book, and then it completely leaves your lexicon until you become an adult?
Yeah, it didn't have any sort of like now.
Yeah,
like back
meaning.
then, like don't tread on me. Oh, okay. But like now it has a significant meaning to me in my personal life and the protection of my life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. But back then it didn't necessarily, but at least it was taught to me in the right context.
Yeah. Sixth graders don't care though. Like it's, I couldn't tell you what page of the history book that flag was on, even when I was in sixth grade and I just learned about it 2 days ago. Just like kids don't care about that kind of shit. This kid does because I don't know. He's clearly he's a nerd, and I mean that in the best possible way. He's a nerd in the way that you and I are nerds for this stuff, except he's way younger than we are. So like,
Yeah, he's
probably going places.
Like Michael from that we had on the show before. If you want to go back and listen, I forget the number of the episode, but we had someone who's in charge of the chapter here, local chapter of the Forward Party.
He's
young kid,
yeah.
18 years old, and he's just like he's a nerd for politics, and it's great because when I was from 18 to like 26, I was just chasing tail, getting drunk at the bars.
I was barely paying attention. I was excited to vote for Barack Obama because I was like, oh, something about change. Something about change and hope. Whatever, I'll go to the polls.
I like change. Guy. I like hope.
What I've learned since then.
Yeah, it was me in 2016 when Bernie showed up, and I was like, this guy's great. Oh, young Corey, you had so much to learn.
Man, I've had like Civil War and Revolutionary War reenactors in my family my whole life. So I got a taste of all that growing up forever, but I never even took it serious back then. But like even a lot of my cousins and stuff, they all know what's up.
They're like, what are they, like 3%ers? Actually, don't even answer that. I don't want to get the sides on us.
They're not even.
I don't want to put that evil on you.
Good answer, Belle.
Well, you can go to like Greenfield Village and watch them do candle making and stuff. They're like those type of people, but not one of them loves the government.
Glass blowers.
Not one of them.
We have a friend who's it's so funny, like when it comes to history, when it comes to different things, like when it comes to the conversation of like reparations and stuff, right? And like who's supposed to pay for them and this and that, and it's like I look at like my family's lineage, like really, like thank God, but my family fought for the North in the Civil War for Michigan, and my great grandpa or whatever he was, he volunteered so other men in the village could stay home because they had kids. And he's like, well, I don't have kids, I'll go do it. And so like that's my family lineage. But I have a friend, and I'm not going to name him, but Belle will probably know who he is when I mention the name of the house. But in Greenfield Village, there's the Common House, and it was a plantation.
No.
And I have a friend whose ancestors owned that house.
They're the ones that owe reparations, bitch.
And it's like, oof. Ooh. And his thing he says to me, and he means it so sincerely, and he goes, yeah, but you know, when we read about it, it says that they were nice to their slaves. So I mean, I guess at least they were nice to their property that they owned.
Yeah, that's a tough disclaimer. It's one that you hear every once in a while where you're like, that might have been true. Like that might have been true.
Right.
We'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but
like,
I don't think that's quite enough.
I'm so glad my family came here in like 1925. Everybody's like, my family fought for the North. My family was in the South.
Got
like,
tomatoes thrown at them when they came off the boat at Ellis Island.
Yeah, they didn't own anybody though.
That's why they came here.
Oh, that was like
yeah, and on the other side of my family was Irish, so they were probably like contractually owned by people.
I'd say they were probably the same.
Don't make that comparison, Corey. It
was in jest. That is actually like a shitty comparison. It's a really shitty comparison.
You need to check your white privilege.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Speaking of white privilege, how about Trump's mugshot?
No.
That's the end of it. That's it. Just beautiful mugshot.
Yeah, it's in the title. We have to mention it.
Greatest mugshot.
I was hoping he'd smile.
No, that makes it better.
Dude,
He looks like a
so
rapper.
I can't remember. I wish I could give credit. Somebody actually wrote a piece on that. I think over at Racket, maybe. Yes, here we go. Danielle Medina wrote. The headline is, "Am I the only one who thought that he should have smiled in his mugshot?" I haven't read the piece. I'm sure it's decent satire, but a lot of people think that. But what makes more?
He
money?
likes to be known. He likes to be known as a fighter.
Yeah, and it's either
and that picture personifies a fighter.
And this is me being the biggest, cynic about the system that I can possibly be, because as much as I hate Donald Trump and think he's unfit to lead, I also think this is a witch hunt, because I think both things can be true at the same time. I'm sorry if that makes me a bigot, whatever. Maybe he actually realizes that as close as he was able to come to kind of bucking the system, he might finally be coming to the realization that, like, if they get me here, like, this is the end.
Well, this is the only one that they're really going to be able to get him on, right? Is
The Georgia case?
one. Yeah, the Georgia case is like the serious one. All the other shit, and even this one is weird legal theory, to where it's like, if he truly believes that it was stolen from him, and under oath he like says that, and he truly believes it, like, I don't know how you're gonna get him on a RICO case.
It's interesting.
The phone call. I mean, this one, like,
it's really, really interesting, because, like, back when the election was taking place, I was with most of America, where I shouldn't say most of America, but like on the more leftward side of, like, not that I was super supporting Joe Biden or anything like that, but I was more on the side of, like, yeah, the election definitely wasn't stolen, right? And I still believe that to this day. I don't think that the election was outwardly stolen. Do I believe there could have been fraud? Yeah, there could have been some fraud, but only recently have I really taken a step back and kind of looked at the optics of this election.
The mechanics of the votes themselves, I still have faith in. There's way too many hands in the pot to make any sort of actual move to swift votes in a wild swing one way or the other, because the way our government works, it's full of whistleblowers and leakers, because it's incentivized by money to do that. And, like, for example, like the Hunter Biden laptop thing, like how all of that stuff is coming out from people in his own circle. People in Trump's circle are always leaking things. There's always leakers. There's always people that are they love to talk. Everybody loves to talk and feel like they know something other people don't. It's in our human nature.
Mm-hmm.
Where if the actual mechanics of the voting was done as a fraud, that would have came out at this point. But the narrative and the messaging and the chicanery around things of how, like, the way the laptop thing was pushed off as Russian disinformation, when we know now that it 100% wasn't. And then how it was stifled at first and, like, algorithmically pushed down where people didn't read about it or see it, when, like, our main news source now isn't the Walter Cronkite on TV. We get it from social media and information being passed and spread, and God bless that, because that's an important tool that we use. Different things like that.
I'm talking about the optics of the actual election, right? So, like, the media going out and suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story, like, that's the media meddling in elections in the same way that they kind of pretty much always have. Mm-hmm. Is it right? No, it's completely unethical, and it sucks, and I hate that it happened. But I'm talking about, like, the actual, like, physical optics of the election, right? So first of all, you have COVID going on, which gives the establishment the guys to be like, oh, the cover to be like, oh, well, we have to save lives, so all of a sudden it's just cool for you to mail in all these ballots.
But Trump the whole time was telling his constituents to not mail in vote.
Right. No, I understand that. But then why is he doing that? Because he's like, well, we can't, we have to be above this and
That's
not
why he fucking lost the Georgia runoff
and not quote unquote cheat. Right. But it's like when you think about Donald Trump's personality and you think about optics, like all of these extra mail-in ballots, right? When you think about the optics of, even though this was predicted, you and I predicted it, a lot of other pundits predicted it, of him being so far ahead in certain states because of the way the votes are counted.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden losing at the end, the optics of that to a man like Donald Trump. I genuinely believe he thought he was cheated. Mm-hmm. Do I know that
he surrounded himself for 4 years with yes men who said things that he wanted to hear? So yeah, absolutely.
I really think that he thought that he was cheated and that the election was stolen. The interesting thing would be, does he still believe that today? I would say, because he's such a stubborn asshole that he is, he probably does still believe that it was stolen today.
Well, and now it's weird because now at this point he has to. or he
Yeah.
lied. And
Well,
that's the
does he
fraud.
though? No, does he though? Because he only needed to believe it at the time. You might not necessarily have to believe it anymore.
If he wants his whole legal case to like not fall apart, he kind of has to, doesn't he? Because his whole legal case is based on the premise that he believes it.
Yeah, I mean, from an optics perspective, but I don't think
He's dug himself in this bullshit trench. Yeah, because so to the listeners, this is why you don't willfully and voluntarily put yourself into an echo chamber or a silo full of yes men if you're of any seat of power that only say what you want to hear, because time and time again, now Trump is an example. You're seeing people fall. You see governments fall. You see companies fall. You see so many like sports teams, everything. When you surround yourself with sycophants that only say what you want to hear, it's an echo chamber. And no matter how strong and unison your echo chamber sees, there's a whole nother fucking world going on out there on the outside looking at y'all like you're in a fucking cult.
But isn't it interesting that this guy that supposedly committed treason, these are like the alleged charges that can't be proven, right? Or so they're not legally charged, but like he committed treason, he incited an insurrection. These are all still things that you see from establishment media, but these are not the things he's being charged with.
Nope.
Like, I think that just tells you everything you need to know. That if he's this bad of a guy and he did all of these things, you'd have the ability to charge him with these things, but they need to get him so badly. They need to get him so badly that they will throw whatever they can at the wall. And the problem with that is, God damn it, if they can do this shit to Donald Trump, they can do it to you. They can do it to your guy.
That's
and
what's
that's
scary.
The problem.
What happens when the role is reversed?
Yeah. What happens if this is, Bernie Sanders?
Yeah.
And it would have been, had Bernie actually had a spine, it would have been him. Not to, take a quote directly from Jimmy Dore's playbook, but that's because he says that a lot. But yeah, that's the issue with this. The fact that they just keep going and going and going and going and going, and they're not going to stop until they find a way to put him away, to keep him out of an election. There's nothing democratic about that.
No, you're absolutely right.
And I can already hear the responses. Well, if he's a criminal, he shouldn't be allowed to run. Then prove he's an actual criminal.
Yeah, it's innocent until proven guilty, not guilty until proven innocent. As
Unless
of right
you're
now, Trump is an innocent man.
He absolutely is. And it's okay
An innocent
to
man
not
that's
like
been
Donald
proven in
Trump
court to pay hush money to a stripper.
I think this is something that needs to be made very clear, because it seems like too many people don't understand this. It's okay to not like Donald Trump and think he's unfit to lead and hope he never again sees the White House, and also believe that this is a witch hunt. Both things can be true at the same time.
Absolutely.
I think you feel the same way. I think Bell feels the same way.
Yep.
I won't speak for you guys, but I think we've talked about this enough that I'm confident enough to think that you guys agree on that point.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many movies, like all the Batman, the superhero movies, when they talk about like the hero, what is it? The hero either dies or lives long enough to become the villain, or whatever. And I'm not comparing Trump to Batman.
No, it's the other way around. He's the anti-hero who's living long enough to become the hero.
And
in certain ways, yeah.
Take it objectively and see how this is happening with him and like the media onslaught and everything that he's seen. And this is coming from someone who does not like Trump. He was a terrible president. I do not like him. He sold out to the elitist. He filled his cabinet full of lobbyists and things like that. Like, it wasn't good for the working class. He was advocate for work, right to work. Like he did like tried to get rid of like environmentalists, not even climate change things.
And now he's sitting here talking about if he gets elected, he's going to put a 10% tariff on everything that comes from out of that, on every import.
That's just more protectionist bullshit. That's literally Jones Act. That's same type of shit.
Catastrophic for the economy.
He's not fit to be a leader. But we're convoluting with being unfit to be a leader with being a criminal. And that's a dangerous road, because who's next?
Well, unfit to, or I'm sorry, conflating unfit to lead with being a criminal in order to keep him from engaging in the democratic fucking process that this country was supposedly founded upon.
Right. Because whether it's Trump or whoever on the Republican side who is probably going to win, the candidacy in 2024, what's next? Just another 4 years of the same, the proverbial witch hunts or the rock lifting and trying to find every piece of dirty laundry. But instead of it being the Democrats, it's the Republicans. Like, is that what our government has diminished to? Is just everyone trying to out each other in some Salem witch trial?
I think one of us might have made that prediction.
I think we did, yeah. We said I was just going to go back and forth now.
Well, I think
bullshit. I don't want this monotony. I want to see things like the two things like we talked about what Biden did good this year. Recently.
I think what we had mentioned.
I want to see some progress.
Was that we were just going to see DOJs just constantly going after each other.
Yeah, I want to see progress. I want to see smaller government. I want to see the fat cut off and making it a more lean, efficient machine. I want to see more states' rights. And instead of all these things happening, we're just in this stagnant, just shitty, broken record loophole of just everyone just pointing fingers at each other and not looking in the mirror for 2 seconds.
Calling each other names.
Yeah, come on.
Bigot.
Liver spotted.
Liver spotted.
Bigot, racist, socialist, communist.
Yep. Fascist.
If you're not one of those things, you ain't doing it right. Do we have anything else we want to talk about, Corey?
We had one more thing, but we're already getting long in the teeth here. We could save that one because that's a topic that we'll probably marinate on for a little bit.
Fly the Gadsden flag.
I do.
Piss off everyone who wants the ever expanding government.
Tell the people where they can find us, Corey.
Libservative Podcast. That's found on all social media and podcast platforms. Our website is libservativeshow.com. And we can be found at Libservative on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Instagram and Twitter at LibServativePod, and our TikTok videos can be found at Libservative Podcast, and you can reach out directly at libservativepod@gmail.com. Subscribe today, and if you like what you hear and you took the time to make it this far, then give us a rating, and it helps with the algorithms, gets more people to listen to our show, and if you listen, you obviously realize that we're just trying to be sensible, intellectual idiots. And tell a friend. Just share it with a friend. Word of mouth is the best way that a podcast expands its reach. And we hope you become a part of our intellectual idiot cult.
Our expanding community. And for Bell the Bodysnatcher, he as always has been Corey Walsh.
And he's Dan Griffin.
This has been Libservative. And until next time, we are out of here.